From the JAMA Network, this is the JAMA Medical News Podcast, discussing timely topics in clinical medicine, biomedical sciences, public health, and health policy, featured in the medical news section of JAMA.
On today's show, we're discussing new commercially available blood tests that claim to screen for multiple cancers. I'm Jennifer Abbasi, Director of JAMA Medical News. Lead Senior Staff Writer Rita Rubin is here to share her reporting. Rita, thanks for joining.
Hey, my pleasure, Jen.
So, Rita, what's the concept behind these new tests?
Well, for various reasons, many people don't get the cancer screenings recommended for them. They might not like prepping for a colonoscopy or feeling the discomfort of a mammogram. Plus, proven screening methods are available for only 5 cancers: breast, cervical, colorectal, lung, and prostate. Now, wouldn't it be great if you could screen for a whole bunch of cancers with a single blood test? That's the thinking behind a handful of tests now on the market in the U.S. None of these so-called multi-cancer early detection tests, or MSAID tests, has been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, which means that if you want one, chances are you're probably going to have to pay for it out of pocket. And that could run you as much as nearly $1,000. But some businesses are offering them for free to employees and their families, which is one reason their use has been growing. Their manufacturers say the MSAID tests screen for dozens of cancers, including many that have no recommended screening method, as well as the common cancers that do. But the blood tests aren't designed to replace the standard screening methods, at least not yet. Now, the Gallery test, which likely has been taken by the most people so far, uses machine learning to analyze cell-free DNA in the blood for abnormal methylation patterns indicative of cancer. If a cancer signal is detected, the test uses AI to try to locate its source tissue.
So what do we know about how well these tests actually work?
Well, the key question about any kind of cancer screening is whether it saves lives, and we don't know the answer when it comes to the MSAID tests. Probably the best information we have so far is a randomized clinical trial conducted by the UK's National Health Service and the maker of the Gallery test. The primary endpoint of that trial was a shift in cancer diagnoses from stage 3 and stage 4 to stage 1 and stage 2. Now, the earlier you detect cancer, the greater the likelihood lives will be saved, right? Well, we don't know the full results of that trial yet, but Grail, the test developer, announced in February that it had failed to reach its primary endpoint. Even so, the company said it was expanding its sales force to meet the increasing demand for Gallery. The Grail press release about the trial suggested it did see a shift from stage 4 to stage 3 diagnoses. Grail says it will present more information about the trial findings at the upcoming annual meeting of the American Society of Clinical Oncology.
So isn't diagnosing cancer at stage 3 better than diagnosing it at stage 4?
Well, that's a common notion, but in reality, it depends on the malignancy. Like the earlier colorectal cancer is diagnosed, for example, the greater the chance it can be cured, thanks to treatment options that vary with each stage. But that's not true for every type of cancer. That's why the best measure of the usefulness of a cancer screening method is whether it saves lives. The problem is that trials to answer that question are so expensive and time-consuming. Experts told me we don't really even know how best to design trials to assess MSAID tests. But the National Cancer Institute has launched the Vanguard trial to help answer that question.
So, Rita, how can these tests be sold in the U.S. if they haven't been approved by the FDA?
Yeah, good question. Well, they've been introduced as laboratory-developed tests, a category for which the FDA has opted to use enforcement discretion, meaning the agency doesn't bother regulating them. The issue here is that the FDA originally intended laboratory-developed tests to be along the lines of something developed in a hospital laboratory and used only at that institution. Today, though, some manufacturers are calling their products laboratory-developed tests, but they're mass-producing them and in some cases selling them around the world.
Okay, so if people get a positive MSAID test result, what's the next step?
More testing. Fortunately, only about 1 in 100 will get a positive result. The test manufacturers provide guidance to clinicians and patients, but not everyone who gets a positive result will have easy access to cancer specialists. Some of the most esteemed medical institutions in the U.S. have now established MSAID clinics because so many people are getting them and they need help, in how to proceed if they test positive. The bottom line is that no one is yet recommending that clinicians broach the subject of MSAID testing at office visits, but they need to be prepared to answer questions from patients who might have seen a TV commercial for the tests or are considering accepting their employer's offer of a free one.
Thanks, Rita. All right. If you'd like to learn more, we'll include a link to Rita's story in the show description. You can find that and all of our stories at JAMAmedicalnews.com. Thanks to Rita Rubin for joining me. I'm Jennifer Abbasi for JAMA Medical News. This episode was produced by Daniel Morrow at the JAMA Network. To follow this and other JAMA Network podcasts, please visit us online at JAMAnetworkaudio.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again next week.
This content is protected by copyright by the American Medical Association with all rights reserved, including those for text and data mining, AI training, and similar technologies.